Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Rachel Paul. I'm so excited to be here with you today. We are going to be talking about 10 simple ways to lose weight without exercise. So we're first going to talk about creating a unique plan that works for you. We're then going to talk about if you do want to overeat or you want to eat off plan in the moment, what to do in those situations. And then we're going to talk about some mindset shifts you can use at any time. All right, let's talk about 10 simple ways to lose weight without exercise. All right, tip number one is to track calories. Now, when I was starting my weight loss journey, I was so angry that calories mattered. I really was frustrated by it. But the truth is that they do matter. Total calories does matter most for weight loss. So what I'd like you to do is track with an app like Lose It. I like the Lose It app. It is very simple, very easy to use. And to be in a 250 calorie deficit, so that's losing about a half a pound per week. That will create those long-term habits that you can really sustain forever. Okay, let's talk about tip number two. Tip number two is to make a plan. Now, as humans, what we encounter throughout the day is what's called decision fatigue. So decision fatigue means that we get tired from making decisions all day long, right? So what we want to do is create a loving, realistic plan for ourselves so that we don't get to the end of the day and we're just so exhausted we can't make another decision to eat a healthy meal, okay? So what's important is to create a loose structure, a plan for yourself, a loving, realistic plan for yourself for the next day. So you want to create this plan at least the day before. So for example, for me, I like to create a plan for my higher carb foods. So starches, fruits, dessert, and alcohol. I think about the next day, where do I want those higher carb foods? And then I just plan for them. So for my main meals for lunch and dinner, I typically have protein, fat, and vegetables. And then at different times throughout the day, maybe I'll have a dessert like chocolate, maybe I'll have a starch like an English muffin, but I just plan for it, all right? Let's talk about tip number three. Is to create structure in your day. Now, when I say structure here, I'm talking about timing. So it's a good idea to structure your meals and snacks with 3 to 4 hour increments. So you could eat at 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., and then 6 p.m. You're having those 3 to 4 hour increments in between your meals and snacks. This allows your body to go through its natural hunger and fullness cues. It's actually healthy to allow your body to get a little bit hungry. I don't mean starving, right? But a little bit hungry is okay. Same, we want to get a little bit full. We don't want to get too full, but we want to allow our bodies to get a little bit full. So that's why it's a good idea to have that 3 to 4 hour structure in between your meals and snacks. Okay, let's talk about tip number 4. Tip number 4 is to get enough sleep. When we're tired, our bodies can't tell the difference between hunger in order to stay awake versus actual physical hunger. So we just naturally end up overeating. What I'd love for you to do is try to get 8 hours of sleep per night. So if you have to wake up at 6 a.m., go to bed at 10 p.m. If you have to wake up at 7 a.m., go to bed at 11 p.m., that type of thing. A great thing to do is to set a timer on your phone for bedtime and also, of course, for wake up time, which I'm sure you already do. Okay, let's talk about tip number 5. Tip number 5 is to plan your higher carb foods ahead of time. So think about the next day, whether it's during the week or whether it's on the weekend. Is it going to be worth it to you to have those higher carb foods? So by higher carb foods, I mean starches like bread, rice, and pasta. I also mean fruit, so all fruit, and then I also mean dessert and alcohol. So think about where during the day, the next day, where are those foods going to be the most worth it to you? So for example, I could have an English muffin with guacamole for breakfast. That'd be a very filling, worth it breakfast to me. Or I could have, for a snack, I could have an apple with peanut butter, and that would be a really worth it fruit for me. So think about you, think about which foods keep you fullest for longest, and make a plan for the next day. Okay, let's talk about tip number 6. Tip number 6 is to plan your social life. So just like we were talking about making a plan for the day before in tip number 5, the same applies to weekends and nights when you're going out. So for example, if you usually don't drink alcohol during the week, you could decide that tomorrow on Saturday, you're gonna make a plan to have 2 drinks. Now, a really good way to include alcohol is to alternate with alcohol and then seltzer or water. This keeps you hydrated, it keeps you from feeling terribly the next day, so this is a really good strategy. So for example, you could have a glass of champagne, and then you could alternate with this glass of seltzer. So do alcohol, seltzer. That just keeps you hydrated, helps you to stay feeling good. Okay, let's talk about tip number 7. Number 7 is to eat when you're hungry and then stop when you're full. So the hunger and fullness scale goes from 1 to 10, where 1 is really starving and 10 is really that overly full and overly stuffed. So we want to stay in the 3 to 7 range, where 3 is you're hungry, you're feeling hungry, but you're not starving, right? And then 7 is where you're feeling pleasantly full, you're feeling satisfied, there's kind of that fullness in your stomach, but you're not overly stuffed. So you want to stay in that 3 to 7 range. All right, let's talk about the next step. Tip number 8 is to decide whether or not it's worth it. So let's say your boss brings in this tray of donuts from the donut store that is right around the corner. The donuts may or may not be a worth it eating off plan food for you. So for example, if you really love donuts and this is your favorite donut place, you may decide, you know what, when I am hungry next, so whenever I'm getting to my snack time, if this is the afternoon, I'm gonna take one of those donuts, I'm gonna pair it with maybe some nuts to keep me more full, and it's gonna be a totally worth it food decision for me to eat that donut, even when I wasn't planning on it. But conversely, we could also think, you know what, donuts aren't my favorite dessert. I much prefer ice cream. That was really nice of my boss to bring in that tray of donuts, but I'm gonna save my dessert for something that's more worth it to me. The truth is here that only you can decide whether or not eating something off of your plan is gonna be worth it to you. And you 100% get to make that decision, which is awesome. Okay, let's talk about the next step. Tip number 9 is to stop making overeating a big deal. So this is something that has happened to me. I'm talking with a friend and we're talking about something that is really an emotional topic, and I find myself kind of eating something like pretzels and really munching them and keep munching them, and then I realize, oh my gosh, I've really overeaten these pretzels, right? So we have 2 options here. Option number 1, you can really make this overeating situation a big deal. You can think to yourself, screw it, I have really, messed up my plan. I'm gonna just order pizza and I'm going to totally eat off plan the rest of the weekend and I'm gonna get back on track on Monday, right? That is kind of option 1. Or option 2, and this is really the truth, overeating, no matter if it was pretzels, no matter what it was, that singular occasion is just not a big deal. It's really not. And what we can decide to do in the moment is say to ourselves, okay, how would I handle that situation differently next time? Maybe I would put the snack foods in like a harder to reach place so I don't easily mindlessly eat, right? Think about how you would handle the situation differently next time and just move on and don't make it a big deal. It's only a big deal when we decide to make it a big deal. Okay, let's talk about tip 10. All right, tip number 10 is to breathe through your cravings. Now, if you are physically hungry, if your stomach is growling and you're really physically hungry, I of course want you to eat. I would never want you to be physically hungry and not be eating. But a lot of times, in these situations, it's more of a craving. Like you're thinking, oh, I'll just have a bite, or like, ooh, that tastes so good. Like, oh, I'll just have a little bit. Those types of thoughts. If you're thinking something like that, that's typically a craving, and it's a good idea to breathe through those cravings. Let's talk about what that means. So think about the next time you are in that situation, and I want you to think about where that craving feeling is in your body. So locate it in your body. For me, it's kind of in my chest, right? But there's no right or wrong answer. Wherever you feel it is totally fine. So for me, it's in my chest. Then ask yourself, what color is it? For me, it's kind of like a red color, okay? Then ask yourself, is it fast or slow? For me, it's kind of fast, okay? So here is the good news here. The worst thing that can happen to you in this situation is you feel this vibration in your body wherever it is. So for me, it's in my chest, it's red, it's fast. But that is the worst thing that's going to happen to me when I have that craving feeling, that craving vibration in my body. It's just a vibration. It's not actually going to hurt you. If you allow this vibration in your body, if you breathe through it, you say to yourself something like, nothing can actually hurt me here. I'm learning to breathe through cravings. I'm learning to breathe through this urge. What's so great is that the vibration in your body, it actually passes in 1 or 2 minutes. It doesn't stay with us for hours. The reason why we feel that cravings last for hours is because we're trying to suppress them. We're trying to kind of push them down like a beach ball in the water. And we know when we try to do that, the beach ball just pops back up with even more vengeance. Okay? So what you have to do is breathe through these cravings. And a great thing to do every time you allow yourself to breathe through one of those cravings is to put a coffee bean into a mason jar, and we'll call this the urge jar. And when you allow the urge jar to get to 100 coffee beans, what's so great is that this is often equal to 5 or more pounds off of your body because it represents every time you would have eaten when you weren't physically hungry. Alright guys, those are my 10 simple ways to lose weight without exercise. If you like this video, I'd love for you to hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell button so you're notified of the next video. And I can't wait to see you next time.